It's Friday, which means I need to get my kitchen ready for this weekend. I have a busy weekend ahead, so I want to make sure that I have some food prepped and ready to serve for quick, healthy dinners. I've been using a really simple method for meal planning that I call my 7-minute meal planning system with bins. And this has been a game changer for me during meal times. In my last video, I shared how I meal planned for the weekend using what I already have in my pantry, as well as my organic food haul from Grocery Outlet. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you how I use the food in my Friday bin. Hi friend, thanks for joining me in my kitchen today. Let's cook up some healthy food together. Today I'm making some vegan cheese sauce in my Instant Pot. I'm also baking some Blondies from a Trader Joe's baking mix, but using applesauce and flax seeds instead of the butter and eggs that the baking mix calls for. I'm also baking a loaf of whole wheat bread in my new Panasonic bread maker, and I'm preparing an oven-baked lunch for my family. If you're new to my channel and you're looking for printable vegan recipes, definitely check out my membership here on YouTube because I share PDF printables of the recipes that I make in my videos in my members area pretty often, usually every week or 2 weeks or every month. And I also hope that you really like this video and subscribe to my channel for more plant-based meal prep and meal planning tips and tricks. I've been teaching plant-based cooking for the last 20 years, and I have a culinary degree from the California Culinary Academy of San Francisco, and I'm also a former cooking instructor for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. But now I'm just a homemaker, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I love cooking healthy, from-scratch meals for my family every single day. And I love sharing videos of how I do that here on my YouTube channel. So right now it's May here in California, which means that the weather is starting to warm up and the days are getting really long. And I don't know about you, but for me, these longer days can really be a lot of fun, but also exhausting with little ones. They just don't want to go to bed and it's still light out. And so when it's like this, I found that I really need to conserve my energy. So spending some time in the kitchen to meal prep for the week saves me stress when dinner time rolls around. And I found that preparing some staples like this vegan cheese sauce and having freshly baked bread on hand really helps me come up with healthy meals without much effort. I really love making this vegan queso because it's a one-pot recipe where I just dump everything into my Instant Pot and press start. And then in about 40 minutes, it's ready to puree and serve. So I like to use my handheld blender to puree this sauce right in the Instant Pot. I use a KitchenAid immersion blender. If you've never used one of those before, it's really, really helpful for pureeing hot soups and sauces like this because if you've ever tried transferring hot soup to a blender to puree, it can be pretty dangerous. So I really like to use a handheld immersion blender that I can just stick right directly into my Instant Pot. So having this vegan sauce on hand makes it really easy for me to get my kids to eat vegetables. I can serve this sauce as nachos. I could put it on pasta for like a mac and cheese. I can use it as a dip and also as a base for a different type of soup. It's also packed with carrots, which have lots of vitamin A, potatoes that are packed with B vitamins, and onions, which are great for like overall health. I'm also learning about onions and how they're really great for liver health. And right now I'm postpartum, so I'm really focusing on weight loss. And I'm focusing on including a lot of foods that are really good for your liver because I've been reading about how having a really healthy liver really helps with weight loss. And today I'm making this vegan sauce without any oil, and instead I'm using cashews raw cashews, and this is going to help provide creaminess to this sauce, as well as some good and healthy fats and some protein. And then another ingredient that I add into this vegan cheese sauce is yellow miso paste, which is a really great fermented food and does provide vitamin K2. And the nutritional yeast that I use is non-fortified. It's also organic and non-GMO. I use the Micro Ingredients brand, and I purchase it in bulk on Amazon. I share a link in the description below to where you could purchase this. This is so delicious. It's a really great nutritional yeast, and I love that it's non-fortified because a lot of nutritional yeast is actually GMO, and they pack it with synthetic vitamins, and I don't like to add synthetic vitamins to my diet as much as possible. So having the non-fortified nutritional yeast is really great. It's also packed with protein, and it does have naturally occurring B vitamins and other vitamins and minerals in it. So not only does it add a super nice cheesy flavor to this sauce, it does add a lot of nutrition. So while my vegan queso sauce is cooking in the Instant Pot, I'm going to whip up a batch of these Trader Joe's Blondies. I've had this Trader Joe's Blondie baking mix in my cupboard since my February grocery haul. I have a video sharing when I purchased this, and it was in February, so it's been a few months, and I've been waiting for a good time to use it. So I'm going to use it today as a nice baked treat for my family. I like to veganize these baking mixes, and I also prefer to bake with no oil as often as possible. So today I'm baking these Blondies as a surprise for my husband for when he comes home from work. He really loves baked goods, and so do my kids. So having this baking mix is going to make this really easy for me to whip up while I'm doing this quick vegan meal prep. So to make these Blondies without eggs, I'm using some ground flax seeds that I puree with water using my KitchenAid hand mixer. I buy the Anthony's brand of ground flax seeds in bulk on Amazon, and they have a recipe on the bag for making flax eggs on the package, which I use. So it's basically 1 tablespoon of the ground flax meal mixed with 2.5 tablespoons of water. So I just mix that really well with my hand mixer in this bowl. Instead of using a stand mixer, which I actually got rid of my KitchenAid stand mixer a long time ago because I was reading something about maybe there being lead in the paddle. I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of scared me. So I got rid of it and I replaced it with the KitchenAid hand mixer, which I can just keep in a drawer. And this is a really great tool. It's about $50 on Amazon, and I do use it a lot. So I'm using it to make these Blondies today, and using it for mixing up these flax eggs is really, really helpful because if you've ever tried to do this with just a fork, it can be a little frustrating. So having the mixer is great for doing that. And then I'm substituting applesauce for the butter that the recipe calls for. And basically, I'm just using a same measurement. I'm doing about 1/2 cup of the applesauce instead of 4 ounces of butter. And I really usually do like to bake from scratch. I have a whole playlist here on YouTube where I share vegan baking from scratch. But having a baking mix like this on hand does kind of make it really easy for me to bake treats without much effort. And when I'm doing a big meal prep like this, it's kind of a nice shortcut. I've never used this Trader Joe's Blondie mix before, but these actually turned out really delicious. And I did notice my husband kept going back for more. So I would definitely recommend this mix if you're looking for a nice treat. It's kind of a fun alternative to brownies. It has chocolate chips in it, so there is a little bit of that chocolate flavor. It's kind of got a nice caramely flavor, and making it without the oil and without the eggs, I didn't really notice it being like a downside to using just applesauce and flax meal. Now, the package does recommend lining the baking dish with parchment paper, and I definitely agree with this recommendation. These Blondies would have been way too sticky to try and get out of the pan without the parchment lining, so I definitely recommend going with their suggestion. I just put some of this unbleached, all natural parchment paper in the bottom of the baking dish, and that was it. And I also preheated my oven to 350 degrees in the very beginning before I even started mixing this up. If you've ever done any baking before, it's really important to preheat your oven before you start making the batter so that as soon as you're done making the batter, hopefully your oven is already at the correct temperature. So after I mixed everything up, I just put them in the oven. I baked them for I think about 35 minutes total, and that was it. I basically just made a delicious treat with very little effort and no eggs and no oil for my family. So I've been making lots of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the bread I've been making in my new bread machine. I recently shared an unboxing and review of my new Panasonic bread maker, as well as my easy everyday sandwich bread recipe in a recent video. And this recipe is so great because I can make it with whole wheat flour or all-purpose flour or a combination of both. So basically, depending on who I'm making sandwiches for, I can use the same recipe. So some people don't like whole wheat bread, and so for them, I'll make a straight white bread using the exact same recipe. And I've got this recipe memorized, so now I don't even have to reach for my recipe binder when I go to make it. And I like to use a digital scale to measure out my ingredients. I know some people really don't like having to use a scale, but I really just am going to encourage you to purchase one. They're about $20 on Amazon, and this makes it so that you can make the same exact recipe over and over and over and over again. If you're like me and you use cup measures for things, sometimes I get lazy and I don't properly measure stuff, or I'll pack the flour in one day and I won't pack it in the cup the other day, and the recipe will turn out different, and it can really cost you a lot of money and a lot of frustration if you are trying to make a recipe and it doesn't turn out the right way. So using a scale means you literally use exactly the same measurements every single time, and you can measure with the scale liquid measurements, dry measurements, nuts, seeds, vegan butter, all kinds of things. So I definitely encourage you to use a scale. And to make this easy everyday sandwich bread, I literally just put everything into the bread maker canister and I press start. I set it to the French bread setting and it's ready in about 6 hours, and I don't even have to touch the dough. The bread machine literally mixes everything in this canister. It does all the rising and the baking in just this one machine. So, and there's also a rapid bake setting, which means I can make bread in just 2 hours. So if you don't have a bread machine yet, I highly recommend adding one to your kitchen appliances. I was so turned off from baking bread for many, many, many years. And now having this bread machine, I literally have been baking bread every single day in it. So not only am I saving money, I'm also making healthy and delicious bread for my family using just ingredients that I want to use, like this Redmond's Real Salt. If you've never heard of Redmond's Real Salt, this is a salt that's a sea salt that comes from Utah. It's packed with really great trace vitamins or trace minerals. So I like to use this salt because it's natural, it's not processed, and like I said, it has a lot of minerals in it. I think it has a lot of magnesium, if I'm correct, and it's really been great for adding minerals to my diet. So I definitely recommend checking out Redmond's Real Salt. Now, because I'm making use of all these small kitchen appliances during my meal prep, there's very little cleanup to do. So as you can see, I'm meal prepping, but my kitchen is not torn up. It's actually pretty clean, and I do clean as I go. So I'll do dishes as I'm meal prepping so that at the end, I don't end up with a huge pile of dirty dishes that I have to clean afterwards. So I'm using my Instant Pot to cook this vegan cheese sauce. And earlier in the day, I didn't get it on video, but I did cook a pot of the dry black beans in my Instant Pot as well, which is so great, especially for a vegan diet. I eat a lot of dry beans, and I can cook them in about 40 minutes from scratch in my Instant Pot. So I don't have to pre-soak them or think about what I want to bake or make the day before. I literally can make a pot of dry beans in the same day in just about 40 minutes in my Instant Pot. And then you just saw me use my handheld immersion blender, which makes it super easy to puree soups inside that pot. And this immersion blender is so easy to clean, and I don't have to transfer that sauce to another machine. And I do keep this sauce in my ball glass jars. I use their leak-proof lids, and I can keep this sauce for about 5 days in the refrigerator. So I'll share a link in the description for a video tutorial where I go into detail on how to prepare this sauce. And then I'll also be sharing a PDF printable of this recipe in my members-only area. So definitely join if you're interested in PDF printable vegan recipes. But I also use this vegan cheese sauce in my Daniel fasting meal plan as well. So I really just encourage you to try this sauce because it is packed with so many vegetables and it's so versatile. So having this as part of my meal prep routine is something I like to do at least once or twice a month. I really love making food from scratch for my family. Not only can I help them get the vitamins and minerals that they need by using quality organic ingredients, but I can also put my love into their food when I make the time and effort to prepare homemade meals. So it's also a great way to save money on groceries. I like to purchase pantry staples in bulk as often as possible. I get most of them on Amazon, like dried beans, whole grain flours, nutritional yeast, organic spices, and herbs. And then what I do is I portion them into smaller containers that can fit into my pantry, and then I'll refill them as needed. So some of my favorite brands that I purchase organic in bulk on Amazon are Micro Ingredients, Anthony's brand, that Redmond's Real Salt. I buy that in a big bulk bag. Star West Botanicals has really great organic herbs and spices. And then Bob's Red Mill, they have really high quality natural baking soda, active dry yeast. And then I do use their organic whole wheat flour. And they also have a really great organic all-purpose flour. So I mentioned in my last video that we're focusing on sticking to a really tight budget right now. And so this means I have to think really carefully about the purchases that I make at the grocery store. So sometimes it can be tempting to just like throw whatever I want into the cart, but this can also lead to food waste. So right now I'm giving myself a food budget and shopping at a discounted grocery store called Grocery Outlet Bargain Market. I don't know if you have one in your area. I know that there's plenty of them in California where I'm at, and also they have some on the East Coast as well. But they carry so much organic produce at a really great price. So I like to shop there for organic discount produce. And then I also like to shop at my local farmer's market. But sometimes I can't get there when it's going on. So I do like that Grocery Outlet carries the organic produce. I've shared some of my grocery hauls from this store. So even if you don't have one in your local area, check those videos out for some shopping ideas because you probably have something similar in your area, hopefully. And those can give you some ideas for grocery shopping on a budget when you're trying to still eat healthy. So some of the items I do like to purchase when I'm shopping on a budget for meal prep that are packed with nutrition specifically are like organic lettuce, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, bananas, apples. Those are all pretty cheap produce items that are packed with nutrition, so definitely add those to your grocery list. I also recently shared a really cheap $22 grocery haul and meal plan that is perfect for a weight loss diet, but it's also just perfect for a vegan plant-based diet or anyone who wants to pack their diet with a lot of vitamins and minerals. So check out that playlist. I think it's called $22 grocery, $22 cheap meal plan is what I called the playlist. And I have several videos for grocery shopping as well as meal planning and meal prep, and some really cheap recipes using that meal grocery haul. So another thing that I'm doing right now to really save money on my grocery budget is I'm focusing on using what I have in my pantry for meal prep. This means that I'm not purchasing pantry items while I'm at the grocery store right now until we're done with everything that's already in our pantry. This is basically a pantry challenge, and it's really saving me lots of time and money because it's helping me with my meal planning. Basically, I'm doing this 7-minute meal planning system where I use those bins and I put the food that I have into the bins for each day of the week. And then when it comes time to meal prep, I just pull the bin out of the refrigerator and I have most of the items already ready to go for meal prep. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking food directly from my pantry and then putting it into those bins. So instead of planning my meals and then making my meal plan, I'm doing the opposite. I'm actually getting the items out of my pantry and then planning meals around what I already have. So it's helping me have parameters around my meal planning and helping me use up what I already have in my pantry. So check out my playlist where I'm compiling all of my 7-minute meal planning videos that where I'm using this system. And my goal is to share weekly meal plans during this pantry challenge with my bin meal planning system. Well, I hope that you enjoyed meal prepping with me today, and I hope that you like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.